ഹലോ, ഞാൻ റിജോസ് എന്ന യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനലിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത് ദ പേഴ്സൺ സീസ് ദി മാനുവൽ 2024 എന്ന ഈ ബുക്കിനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള വീഡിയോസ്. നമ്മൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് തന്നെ പറയുന്നത് ഈ ബുക്കിലെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാര്യം സിലബസ്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ വീഡിയോ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ആഡ് ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ ബോക്സിൽ കൊടുക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ദയവായി ചെക്ക് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കണം. ഈ വീഡിയോയിൽ നമ്മൾ ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കുന്നത് CCT പേപ്പർ 1 ജനറൽ സ്റ്റഡീസിൽ ചാപ്റ്റർ 1 ഏൻഷ്യന്റ് ഹിസ്റ്ററി ആൻഡ് കൾച്ചറിൽ ഏൻഷ്യന്റ് ഹിസ്റ്ററി. കഴിഞ്ഞ വീഡിയോയിൽ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മൗര്യൻ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ആണ്. അതിൽ കുറെ ടോപ്പിക്സ് പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. സ്വാമി, കിങ്, ദ പ്രിമയർ, മന്ത്രി പരിഷത്ത്, ദ ക്യാബിനറ്റ് ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്, അമത്യാസ്, ബ്യൂറോക്രാറ്റ്സ് ഓർ ഓഫീഷ്യൽസ് ഓഫ് ദ ത്രോൺ. ഇത്രയൊക്കെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. വേറെ ഒരുപാട് ടോപ്പിക്സും കൂടി പറഞ്ഞു. നമ്മൾ ഒരു വലിയൊരു ടോപ്പിക്സ് കൂടി നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു അതിൻ്റെ ഒപ്പം തന്നെ. ആ വീഡിയോ നിങ്ങൾ ദയവേത് വാച്ച് ചെയ്യുക. ഈ വീഡിയോയിൽ നമ്മൾ പറയാൻ പോകുന്നത് അശോകാസ് പില്ലാർ എഡിക്സ് 1 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അത് നോക്കാം. സൈഡിലുള്ള ടോപ്പിക്കാണ് അശോകാസ് പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ് 1. അശോകാസ് പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ് 1. King Priyadarshini says, I commanded this edict on Dharma to be engraved 26 years after my coronation. King Priyadarshini says, I commanded this edict on Dharma to be engraved 26 years after my coronation. It is difficult to achieve happiness either in this world or in the next except by intense love of Dharma, intense self-examination, intense obedience, intense fear of evil, and intense enthusiasm. Yet as a result of my instruction, regard for Dharma and love of Dharma have increased day by day and will continue to increase. My officials of all ranks, high, low and intermediate, act in accordance with the precepts of my instruction, and by their example and influence they are able to recall fickle-minded people to their duty. My officials of all ranks, high, low and intermediate, act in accordance with the precepts of my instruction, and by their example and influence they are able to recall fickle-minded people to their duty. My officials of all ranks, high, low and intermediate, act in accordance with the precepts of my instruction, and by their example and influence they are able to recall fickle-minded people to their duty. The officials of the border districts enforce my injunctions in the same way, for these are their rules. For these are their rules to govern according to Dharma, to administer justice according to Dharma, to advance the people's happiness according to Dharma, and to protect them according to Dharma. The officials of the border districts enforce my injunctions in the same way, for these are their rules to govern according to Dharma, to administer justice according to Dharma, to advance the people's happiness according to Dharma, and to protect them according to Dharma. അശോകാസ് പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ് 1 ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഡൽഹി തോപ്ര പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ് നോക്കാം. ഡൽഹി തോപ്ര പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ്. The Delhi Topra Pillar Edict. Thus said his sacred and gracious Majesty the King, on the high roads I caused banyan trees to be planted by me to shade cattle and men. Thus said his sacred and gracious Majesty the King, on the high roads I caused banyan trees to be planted by me to shade cattle and men. I caused mango gardens to be planted and well to be dug at 2-mile intervals. Thus said his sacred and gracious Majesty the King, on the high roads I caused banyan trees to be planted by me to shade cattle and men. Thus said his sacred and gracious majesty the king, on the high roads I caused banyan trees to be planted by me to shade cattle and men. I caused mango gardens to be planted and wells to be dug at 2-mile intervals. Rusty houses were constructed, many watering stations were established here and there for the comfort of cattle and men. Slight comfort indeed is this. People have been made happy through various kinds of facilities for comfort by previous kings as well as myself. But this was done by me so that people might strictly follow the path laid down by Dharma. People have been made happy through various kinds of facilities for comfort by previous kings as well as myself. But this was done by me so that people might strictly follow the path laid down by Dharma. ഡൽഹി തോപ്ര പില്ലാർ എഡിക്റ്റ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത ടോപ്പിക്ക് നോക്കാം. നമുക്ക് പറയുന്നത് റോക്ക് എഡിക്റ്റ് 11. There is no gift that can equal the gift of Dharma. The establishment of human relations on Dharma, the distribution of wealth through Dharma or kinship in Dharma. There is no gift that can equal the gift of Dharma. The establishment of human relations on Dharma, the distribution of wealth through Dharma or kinship in Dharma. റോക്ക് എഡിക്റ്റ് 11 ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. അടുത്ത റോഡ് എഡിക്റ്റ് 13. റോക്ക് എഡിക്റ്റ് 13. Devanam Priya, the conqueror of the Kalingas, is remorseful now, for this conquest is no conquest, since there was killing, death, and banishment of the people. Devanampriya keenly feels all this with profound sorrow and regret. Devanampriya, the conqueror of the Kalingas, is remorseful now, for this conquest is no conquest, since there was killing, death, and banishment of the people. Devanampriya keenly feels all this with profound sorrow and regret. But what is worse than this? There dwell in that country Brahmanas, Charamanas, and followers of other religions, and householders who have the duty of rendering due service to elders, to mother and father, and to gurus, of showing proper courtesy to friends, comrades, companions, and relatives, as well as to slaves and servants, and firm devotion to Dharma. To this injury, death or deportation may have happened, and the friends, comrades, companions, and relatives who still retain undiminished affection for those affected by the war are terribly pained by this calamity. To Devanampriya, Dharma Vijaya, conquest by Dharma, is the most important victory. To this injury, death or deportation may have happened, and the friends, comrades, companions, and relatives who still retain undiminished affection for those affected by the war are terribly pained by this calamity. To Devanampriya, Dharma Vijaya, conquest by Dharma, is the most important victory. റോക്ക് എഡിക്റ്റ് 13th ആണ് നമ്മൾ നോക്കിയത്. മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് നോമെൻക്ലേച്ചർ ഇൻ മൗര്യൻ റൂൾ. അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് നോമെൻക്ലേച്ചർ ഇൻ മൗര്യൻ റൂൾ. കിങ് ദ പ്രിമയർ സ്വാമി. കിങ് ദ പ്രിമയർ സ്വാമി. അഡ്വൈസർ. അഡ്വൈസർ ടു ദ കിങ്. മന്ത്രി പരിഷത്ത്. Bureaucrats or officials of the throne. Amatyas. Departmental heads of the empire. Adhyakshas. Workers of the empire. Karmikas. Chief treasurer. Sanida. Chief treasurer Sanida. Chief tax collector Samaharta. Chief tax collector Samaharta. Tax collectors who collected tax from special tribes. Vajabhuvigas. Tax collectors who collected tax from special tribes. Vajabhuvigas. Chief of Law and Order Dandapala. Commander-in-Chief of Army Senapati. Commander-in-Chief of Force Durgapati. Detectives and spies of the empire. Buddha Purushas. Magistrates of cities Mahamatyas. Tax collectors in rural areas. Stadiniga. Head of accounts and audit. Ashta Padala Dayaksha. Ashada Padal Dayaksha. Ashada Padal Dayaksha. Head of accounts and audit. Ashada Padalaksha. Head of agriculture. Siddha Dayaksha. Head of rivers and irrigation works. Sambradi. Governor of the province. Rashtrapala. Governor of the province. Rashtrapala. Officers who looked after frontier provinces. Anda Mahamatras. Officers who looked after frontier provinces. Anda Mahamandras. Subordinate officers to look after the king's income. Yuktas. Subordinate officers to look after the king's income. Yuktas. Official to measure land and fix up boundaries. Rajugas. Head of Rajugas in different provinces. Purushas. Custodians Dharma. Dharma Mahamandras. Police and revenue officers. Pradeshigas. Head of the village Gramiga. Head of a group of Gramigas, Goa. Head of a group of Gramigas, Gopa. Head of the city Nagriga. അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് നോമൻക്ലേച്ചർ ഇൻ മൗര്യൻ റൂളാണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇത് സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് വരാൻ സാധ്യതയുണ്ട്, കാരണം അത് ഭയങ്കര ടഫായിട്ടുള്ള നമുക്ക് പറയാനാവില്ലെങ്കിലും എൻ്റെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്ന് സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, ദയവേത് ക്ഷമിക്കണം എന്നുള്ളത് പറയാണ്. ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഈ രണ്ട് ടോപ്പിക്സും നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞു, ഈ സൈഡിലൊക്കെ ഉള്ളത് റോക്ക് എഡിക്റ്റ് 13th ഒക്കെ. ഇനി നമുക്ക് സോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് റവന്യൂ നോക്കാം. സോഴ്സസ് ഓഫ് റവന്യൂ. The Mauryan treasury had many sources of income and always had a very sound financial health. Land revenue was the main source of income, which accreted to 1/4 of the revenue. Other sources of income included tax on salt, forest mining, important duties, export taxes. Various penalties were also collected from the courts. The regular tax was 1/4 of the income, which were as described in the Arthashastra. Trade tax was 1/5 of the total value, and state taxed all manufactured and imported goods. Tax evasion was seldom, as culprits were punished severely. The Samhartas, the Sanindada, and the Aksha Padala Dayaksha were made. The Samhartas, the Sanidada, and the Akshapadala Dayaksha made sure that there was no scarcity of funds in the royal treasuries for meeting expenses on public welfare, fees of royal court, ministers and officials, salary of employees, construction of roads and bridges, development of irrigation facilities, protection of forests, and supporting a thriving army. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ സോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് റവന്യൂ ആണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. അടുത്തത് ഇക്കോണമി. Industry and trade were well developed, and to promote them, roads and waterways were maintained. Mental works were privileged. And usage of copper, lead, tin, bronze, iron was common. Other industries included ones producing dyes, gums, drugs, perfumes, and pottery. Industries were classified into private and public sector. Industry and trade were well developed, and to promote them, roads and waterways were maintained. Metal works were prevalent, and the usage of copper, lead, tin, bronze, iron was common. Other industries included ones producing dyes, gums, drugs, perfumes, and pottery. Industries were classified into private and public sector. അപ്പോൾ ഇക്കണോമി മനസ്സിലായി വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി അടുത്തത് നമുക്ക് പറയുന്നത് എസ്പിയോണേജ്. Mauryan rulers maintained a powerful and trustworthy secret police. They were the eyes and ears of the king. Mauryan rulers maintained a powerful and trustworthy secret police. They were the eyes and ears of the king. However, the police did not interfere with the day-to-day life of the people. Mauryans, apart from their armed strength, depended upon dictum of international diplomacy to expand the Mauryan Empire. Arthashastra suggests that intrigue, spices swimming over the creamies, winning over the enemy's people, siege and assault are the 5 means to capture a fort and should be preferred to the use of full armed force. There were 2 types of species. One, samastag. There were stationary spices consist of secret agents like Kabariga, fraudulent disciplines, udastida, recluses, Vaidihanga, merchants, and tapasa, ascetics. 2, sanjarh, wandering spies, including emissaries termed satri, classmates, Trikshana, firebrands, and Rashada, poisoners. Women were an integral part of the SPY network. There are accounts of women spies under the name of Parivarjigas. There are accounts of women spies under the name of Parivarjigas, wandering nuns. Bhikushigis, mendicants, and Brishalis, courtesans. ഇതിൽ സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് ഉണ്ട്, ദയവേത് ക്ഷമിക്കുക. എസ്പിയോണേജ് എന്നുള്ളതിൽ നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത ടോപ്പിക്ക് നോക്കാം. മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. Military. An efficient military administration was responsible for making Mauryan rulers being among most powerful rulers of their times. A commission of 30 members administered military, which was divided into 6 boards as follows. Board 1, the Fleet Admiralty. It cooperated with the Admiral of the Fleet. Board 2, Infantry. There were more than 6 lakh soldiers in Chandragupta's army. Board 3, Cavalry. More than 13,000 cavalry. Board 4. War chariots. The number of chariots is not recorded. Board 5. War elephants more than 9,000. Board 6. Transport and supplies. Defensive armor was supplied to men, elephants, and horses. Transport animals included horses, mules, and oxen. The army was provided with ambulance services, which contained surgeons and supplies of medicine and dressings. In addition, women were provided for preparing food and supplying beverages during the time of action. The Senabadi commander-in-chief had overall charge of the war office. All departments connected to the war office were under this control. The Senabadi commander-in-chief had overall charge of the war office. All departments connected to the war office were under his control. He was highly qualified in military affairs. The war force consisted primarily of one Senapati, the overall in charge of army and the highest paid official. Two Prasasta, three Naiga, four Mukhya. The central government would bear the cost of maintaining the military. The government paid cash salary to the army. However, the armies used to collect some token tax from the villages or towns it used to pass through during their campaigns and training exercises. Some villages used to provide soldiers for the army. They were given many subsidies. Some villages used to provide soldiers for the army. They were given many subsidies or tax cuts by the central government. No similar organization is recorded elsewhere in history, and the credit of devising such as efficiency machinery must be divided between Chandragupta and his exceptionally able ministries. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ നമ്മൾ ഇതിനു മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞ ടോപ്പിക് മിലിറ്ററിയാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി അടുത്തത് ലോ ആൻഡ് ഓർഡർ കോഡ്സ് ഓഫ് ജസ്റ്റിസ്. ലോ ആൻഡ് ഓർഡർ കോഡ്സ് ഓഫ് ജസ്റ്റിസ്. Kautilya's Arthashastra given a fair account of the prevailing justice system in the Mauryan era. The king sat in court to administer justice. As to the king's legislative function, we should note that the Arthashastra calls him Kautilya's Arthashastra given a fair account of the prevailing justice system in the Mauryan era. The king sat in court to administer justice. As to the king's legislative function, we should note that the Arthashastra calls him Dharma Pravartaka. And includes the Rajasena among the sources of law. So at the head of the judiciary stood the king himself. Rulers impartial decisions, thus safeguarding the sanctity of justice. Ashoka had created a special post of Dharma Mahamandras who carried out the dual role of preachers as well as judges. They went from place to place to preach the code of conduct and the principles of Dharma. As well presided over the litigations and gave their decisions. The judicial system had two organs, Dharmastra, which presided over civil cases such as disputes of marriages, dowry, divorces, loans, property, etc. and Kanta Koshadana, Kenta Koshadana, Kenta Koshadana, which deals with the cases of criminal nature such as robbery, theft, commercial crimes like counterfeit coins for blackmailing. Example, besides this courts, there were special tribunals of justice both in cities, Nagara, and rural area. Janabada, presided over by via Vahariga, Maham Mandras and Rajugas. Census. The administration made it mandatory that the officials knew everything about everybody within their jurisdiction. They kept an eye over any type of movement of individuals or tribes. Thus, they kept a permanent census of people and information in the form of a name, caste, gotra, occupation, age, martial status, family, etc. Such records enhanced the central government to hold over the public for the purpose of taxation and monitoring the efficacy of welfare activities. Census. The administration made it mandatory that the officials knew everything about everybody within their jurisdiction. They kept a check over any type of movement of individuals or tribes. Thus, they kept a permanent census of people and information in the form of name, caste, gotra, occupation, age, martial status, family, etc. Its records enhanced the central government's hold over the public for the purpose of taxation and monitoring the efficacy of welfare activities. ഇനി നമുക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത് provincial governments. The empire was divided into a number of provinces which were subdivided into ahara or Vishayas districts. The exact number of provinces in Chandragupta's time is not known, but Ashoka maintained at least 5 provinces. 1. Uttarabhada, capital Takshila. 2. Avantirata, capital Ujjain. 3. Dakshinabada, capital Suvarnagiri. 4. Kalinga, capital Tosali. And 5. Pragya, capital Padaliputra. The outlying provinces were ruled by the royal blood princes, Kumaras, and the home province of Pragya was directly ruled by the emperor. Besides the imperial provinces, Maurya India included a number of territories that enjoyed a certain amount of autonomy. The Arthashastra mentions a number of sanghas, that is political, economic, and military corporations or confederations, evidently enjoying autonomy in certain matters, such as Cambodia and Saurashtra. Provincial governments ആണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി അടുത്തത് വില്ലേജ് administration. The administrative and judicial business of villages was carried on by Gramigas, village elders. Maurya administration omitted the Gramiga from the list of salaried officials of the government. The king's servant in the village was Grama Brihandaga. Grama Biharandaga. Grama Biharandaga. Above Gramiga, the Arthashastra praised the Goba, who looked after about 5 villages, and the Staniga, who controlled 1/4 of a Janapada district. The work of these officials was supervised by Samahartri with the help of Pradishtris. Rural administration must have been highly efficient. The tillers in villages devoted much of their time cultivating the land as they used to receive adequate protection and security. ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഈ ടോപ്പിക് ഉണ്ട്, സൈഡിലോ ടോപ്പിക് ആയിരുന്നു നോക്കാം. Ashoka as an administrator. The devout Buddhist Ashoka did not neglect public works or administration. A devout Buddhist Ashoka did not neglect public works or administration. Although he retained capital punishment for extreme offences, he devised a system of appeals to give every chance for a revised judgment that might replace execution with a fine. He reformed the tax system so that each region and village could appeal for relief when harvests and commerce had declined, reorganized the bureaucracy and devised a new classes of officials, the Mahamandras, literally meaning great in measure. They were established to monitor the operations of the government. Some were assigned to look after the welfare of the Sangha, and they even travelled outside the realm to do so. Others saw to the well-being of other religious sects. They reported directly to Ashoka, who took interest in the details of his empire. Ashoka established a rest house, dug wells, planted trees, and founded hospitals along major roads. He promulgated rules for the protection of cows, forbade animal sacrifices, and abolished hunting for sport. He replaced the royal hunt with the royal pilgrimage and visited Bodh Gaya and many other sacred sites. He promulgated rules for the protection of cows, forbade animal sacrifices, and abolished hunting for sport. He replaced the royal hunt with the royal pilgrimage and visited Bodh Gaya and many other sacred sites. Ashoka as an administrator നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി നമുക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത് മുനിസിപ്പൽ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ആണ്. Municipal administration. Prominent cities had a local self-government. The city of Padaliputra was governed by a 30-member municipal council. It was divided into 6 main boards, which had 5 members each. Each member was in charge of a particular function. The 6 boards are: 1 board 1. Evaluation of goods manufactured, industry, labor and their wages, etc. The 6 boards are: 1 board 1. Evaluation of goods manufactured, industry, labor and their wages, etc. 2. Board 2. Dedicated to the foreign visitors and other guests of the empire. Board 2 dedicated to the foreign visitors and the other guests of the empire. 3. Board 3 controlled census figures more Importantly, birth and death records. Board 3 controlled census figures. More importantly, birth and death records. 4. Board 4 maintained standards like measurements, prices of commodities and living indices. Board 4 maintained standards like measurements, prices of commodities and living indices. 5. Board 5 law and order departments. It also carried out trials of culprits and supervised governmental employees to eliminate chances of corruption, etc. 6. Board 6 tax collectors who made sure that every citizen paid on 10th or the tithe as taxes to the government. 6. Board 6 tax collectors who made sure that every citizen paid 1/10 or the tithe as taxes to the government. മുനിസിപ്പൽ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി അടുത്തത് മൗര്യൻ എംപയർ. മൗര്യൻ എംപയർ 5 provinces comprising the Mauryan Empire with their respective capitals are 1. Uttarapatha North Takshila, 2. Dakshinapatha South Suvarnagiri, 2. Dakshinapatha South Suvarnagiri, 3. Avantipatha West Ujjain, 3. Avantipatha West Ujjain, 3. Avantipatha West Ujjain, 4. Pragayapatha East Toshali Kalinga, 5. Central Province Megadha Padaliputra, 5. Central Province Magadha Padaliputra. മൗര്യൻ എംപയർ ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി അടുത്തത് അശോക ആസ് ധർമ്മരാജ. Whether Ashoka was transformed all at once or whether the impact of his conquest affected him over time, it had 2 radical consequences. Whether Ashoka was transformed all at once or whether the impact of his conquest affected him over time, it had 2 radical consequences. Spiritually, he became a follower of the Buddha Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. Politically, he renounced war and conquest as acceptable methods for preserving the empire and sought to replace them with the inculcation of Dharma. Whether Ashoka was transformed all at once or whether the impact of his conquest affected him over time, it had 2 radical consequences. Spiritually, he became a follower of the Buddha Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. Politically, he renounced war and conquest as acceptable methods for preserving the empire and sought to replace them with the inculcation of Dharma. He synthesized these 2 commitments in a 3-fold devotion to Dharmapalana, Dharma Karma, and Dharmanushishti, protection of Dharma, action according to Dharma, and instruction in Dharma, rather than follow in the footsteps of his grandfather and renounce the world. His outstanding of the Dharma held him responsible for the welfare of all his subjects. and he translated this general duty into an attempt to exemplify Dharmarajya, the rule of Dharma, long after his specific policies and works were forgotten. Buddhist tradition revered him as the first and ideal Dharmaraja, the Buddhist counterpart of the Hindu idea of the Chakravartin, and bestowed upon him the name of Dharmashoga. Buddhist tradition revered him as the first and ideal Dharmaraja, the Buddhist counterpart of the Hindu idea of the Chakravartin, and bestowed upon him the name of Dharmashoga. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ അശോക ആസ് ധർമ്മരാജ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി നമുക്ക് പറയണത് മൗര്യൻ കൾച്ചർ ആർക്കിടെക്ചർ ആൻഡ് സ്കൾപ്ചർ. റോയൽ പാലസസ്, stupas, Sanji and Barhat, monasteries and cave dwellings were built throughout the kingdom. Ashoka is said to have built around 84,000 stupas all over his empire. Stupas were made of burned bricks and stones. They were circular in shape and sheltered by an umbrella type canopy at the top. The Sanji stupas in Madhya Pradesh are the most famous stupas, along with the stupas of Barhat. The festoons of the stupas are carved with Buddha tales, teachings and religious matter. Ashoka's pillars, the 7 pillars, edicts and Tarai pillar inscriptions. The 7 pillars, edicts and Tarai pillar inscriptions and pillar capitals were constructed. It is said that Ashoka erected close to 30 pillars. The most significant among these is the pillar of Sarnath. The emblem of the Indian Republic has been adopted from the 4 iron capital of this pillar. The royal palaces of the Mauryan era were made of wood and therefore no longer exist. But the accounts of Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador to Patna, described the grandeur of these palaces, and he from China has mentioned a description of the foundations of these royal palaces. Both the travelers have described these places to be superior to the ones in their countries. Cave dwellings and temples were built for meditation by Jains and Buddhists. The mountain caves provided the necessary solitude, conductive. The mountain caves provided the necessary solitude, conductive for attaining salvation. Ashoka and Dasharatha Maurya made some cave temples which are famous for their outer architecture and carved interiors. The Gaya cave temples in the Barabarg mountain are fine examples of Mauryan cave temples. Karma chamber and Sudama were renowned chieftains of Ashoka's era. അപ്പോൾ ആർക്കിടെക്ചർ ആൻഡ് സ്കൾപ്ചർ ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി അടുത്തത് ഒരു ചെറിയ ടോപ്പിക്കാണ് എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ലിറ്ററേച്ചർ. Gurukulas and Buddhist monasteries developed with royal patronage. The universities of Takshila and Banaras are gift of this era. Edicts were engraved on rocks in the form of 44 royal orders aimed at molding general behavior and educating people. Kaudalya's Arthashastra, Bhadrabahu's Kalpa Sutra. Kaudalya's Arthashastra, Bhadrabahu's Kalpa Sutra. Buddhist texts like the Kadavastu, and Jain texts such as the Bhagavati Sutra. Acharanga Sutra and Dasva Galik. Five significant authors: Arian, Aristobulus, Justin, Megasthenes, and Stylex gave their accounts on the Mauryan Empire in a book called Indica. Means the Indica. Dharma Raksha and Kashya Pamdalange translated Buddhist texts and teaching into Chinese to further spread Buddhism in China. Five significant authors: Arian, Aristobulus, Justin, Megasthenes, and Stylex gave their accounts on the Mauryan Empire in a book called Indica. Means the India. Dharma Raksha and Kashya Pamdalange translated Buddhist texts and teachings into Chinese to further spread the Buddhism in China. Dharma Raksha, Kashya Pamdalange translate Buddhist texts and teachings into Chinese to further spread Buddhism in China. Education and literature ആണ് പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലാണെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇനി അടുത്തത് causes of decline of the Mauryan Empire. The Great Mauryan Empire declined because of one weak successors to oppression by officials in outlying areas leading to revolts. 3. Greek invasion of the northwest. 4. Policy of Ahimsa and Ashoka's pacifism weakened their aggressive military stand. 4. Reaction of the Brahmins against the policy of Ashoka. 6. Vastnesses of the empire and wars. 7. The enormous expenditure on the army and payment to bureaucracy created a financial crisis for the Mauryan Empire. 18th, highly centralized character of the Mauryan government and bureaucracy. 8. Highly centralized character of the Mauryan government and bureaucracy. The empire broke up 50 years after the death of Ashoka. Cause of decline of the Mauryan Empire നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി നമുക്ക് പറയുന്നത് പോസ്റ്റ് മൗര്യൻ പീരിയഡ്. After the disintegration of the Mauryan Empire in the 2nd century BC, South Asia became a college of regional powers with overlapping boundaries. India's unguarded northwestern border again attracted a series of invaders between 200 BC and AD 300. The absence of any strong resistance paved the way for various foreigners to come to India one after the other. There were the one Indo-Greeks Bactrians, two Indo-Parthians, Pahallavs, two Indo-Parthians, Pahallavas, two Indo-Parthians, Pahallavas, three Indo-Scythians, three Indo-Scythians, Sagas, three Indo-Scythians, Sagas, and four Kushans. Four Kushans, Yuki tribe. Four Kushans, Yuki tribe. Four Kushans, Yuki tribe. Four Kushans, Yuki tribe. As the Aryans had done, the invaders became Indianized in the process of their conquest and settlement. Also, this period witnesses the remarkable intellectual and artistic achievements inspired by cultural diffusion and syncretism. The Indo-Greeks or the Bactrians of the Northwest contributed to the development of numismatics. They were followed by another group from the steppes of Central Asia, the Sheikhs or Scythians, who settled in Western India. Yet another nomadic tribe, the UC, who were forced out of the inner Asian steppes of Mongolia. Drove the Shagas out of northwestern India and established the Kushana kingdom, 1st century BC to 3rd century AD. Yet another nomadic tribe, the Yuski, who were forced out of the inner Asian steppes of Mongolia. Drove the Chagas out of northwestern India and established the Kushana kingdom, 1st century BC to 3rd century AD. പോസ്റ്റ് മൗര്യൻ പീരീഡ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി അടുത്തത് the Kushans ruled in two dynasties, Kadaphises and Kanishkas. Kadaphises ruled from AD 50 to 78 and Kanishkas rule started from AD 78 onwards. The Kushanas were patrons of Gandharan art, synthesis of Greek and Indian styles, and Sanskrit literature. They initiated a new era called Shaga in AD 780, and their calendar, which was formally recognized by India for civil purposes, starting on 22 March 1957, is still in use. Purshapura was their first capital and Madura was their second capital. The Kushana kingdom controlled part of Afghanistan and Iran, and in India its realm stretched from Purshapura, modern Peshawar, Pakistan, in the northwest to Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, in the east and to Sanji, Madhya Pradesh, in the south. For a short period, the kingdom reached still farther east to Padaliputra. The Kushana kingdom was the crucible of trade among the Indian, Persian, Chinese, and Roman empires, and controlled a critical part of the legendary Silk Road. The Kushans belonged to the Yuchi tribe in Central Asia, which later spread into the Kansu provinces of Turkey. They were in constant fight with the Saga tribe in Tibet on the Jagsartan River bank. The Sagas kept evading the Yuki rulers till they passed the northern passes and entered India. The Yuki tribe consisted of 5 main sub-tribes with Kaya Shong as the chief among them. The Ki Shong tribesmen later proposed and came to be called as Kushans. The Kushans ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ വീഡിയോ വെച്ച് അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാണ്. നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത വീഡിയോയിൽ ചെയ്യുന്ന ടോപ്പിക് പറയാം, കുഷാന റൂളേഴ്സ്. Cadaphysis 1 till AD 65. Cadaphysis 2 Bhima Cadaphysis AD 65 to 75. Kanishka AD 78 to 120. Dharmarajya and Ashoka. Remembering Ashoka. Other notable events in the post-Mauryan era. The Deccan and the South. The Stupta at Sanji. The Deccan and the South. 2 calendars in India. Map 1.8 kingdoms in India. Religious sects of post-Mauryan and Gupta period. ഈ ടോപ്പിക്സുകളൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത വീഡിയോയിൽ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക്, ക്ലാസ് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്ത അവസ്ഥ, എന്തെങ്കിലും രീതിയിലുള്ള തെറ്റുകൾ, ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകൾ ഒക്കെ സംഭവിച്ചു പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ ആത്മാർത്ഥമായിട്ട് ക്ഷമ ചോദിക്കുന്നു. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് നല്ല രീതിയിൽ തന്നെ ഈ വീഡിയോയിൽ വന്നു പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് തന്നെ നമുക്ക് പറയേണ്ടി വരും. ദയവേത് ക്ഷമിക്കണം എന്നേ നമുക്ക് പറയാനാകുള്ളൂ. കാരണം ഒരുപാട് ടോപ്പിക്സുകൾ നമ്മൾ ഈ വീഡിയോയിൽ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് പ്രത്യേകതരം വേർഡ്സുകളും ഉണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ നിസ്സാര വേർഡ് പോലും തെറ്റി പറയുന്ന ഒരവസ്ഥ നമ്മുടെ ഭാഗത്ത് ഉണ്ടാവാറുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ എടുത്തു പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ദയവേത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാം. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ വീഡിയോ നമ്മൾ എഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും, സോങ്സ് ഒക്കെ മിക്സ് ചെയ്ത് എഫക്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് എഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്തതിന് ശേഷം എനിക്ക് യൂട്യൂബിൽ അപ്ലോഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളുടെ കോൺസെൻട്രേഷൻ എന്തെങ്കിലും രീതിയിലുള്ള ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകളുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ദയവേത് എന്നോട് ക്ഷമിക്കണം. പിന്നെ ഈ ബുക്കിലെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാര്യം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ സിലബസ്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ വീഡിയോട്ട് റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം എയർ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ ബോക്സിലായിരിക്കും നമ്മൾ ടൈപ്പ് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കുന്നത്. എയർ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ ബോക്സ് ദയവേത് ചെക്ക് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കണം. പിന്നെ വീഡിയോ നമ്മൾ രാത്രി എടുക്കണമെന്നുള്ള പ്രത്യേകതയുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ വീഡിയോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് CCTക്ക് വേണ്ടി നല്ല രീതിയിൽ ഹെൽപ്ഫുൾ ആയിരിക്കുമെന്ന് ഞാൻ ആത്മാർത്ഥമായിട്ട് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു, പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. നല്ലൊരു CCT എക്സാം എല്ലാവർക്കും ആശംസിക്കുന്നു. നല്ല വിജയകരമായിട്ടുള്ള CCT എക്സാം ഒക്കെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ നടക്കട്ടെ. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഹാവ് എ ഫാന്റാസ്റ്റിക് ഡേ ആൻഡ് ഹാവ് എ ബ്രൈറ്റ് ഫ്യൂച്ചർ. നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത വീഡിയോയിൽ കാണാം. ഗുഡ് നൈറ്റ് ആൻഡ് താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്.